Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Virtual Church. My name is Brittany Butler. Even though we cannot physically get together this morning, I am glad we can get together through this pre-recorded virtual service. Today, our friend Linda Good will celebrate Black History Month, which ends today, and Women's History Month, which begins tomorrow, by raising up the voices of African American women who have transformed silence into language and action in the midst of realistic fears of retribution and injustice. As we light the chalice, let's remember that Black women are victim to the highest rates of homicide in the United States and honor their memory. An excerpt from A Litany for Survival by Audre Lorde. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not remain. When the sun sets, we are afraid it might not rise in the morning. When our stomachs are full, we are afraid of indigestion. When our stomachs are empty, we are afraid we may never eat again. When we are loved, we are afraid love will vanish. When we are alone, we are afraid love will never return. And when we speak, we are afraid, for our words will not be heard nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid, so it is better to speak. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Whoa, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, whoa, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine.
We will sing Loving Kindness next. Please hold a light in your heart to dispel the darkness, to honor someone or some event, or to lift up a memory. Let us also hold a bright light up to amplify the shaky as well as strong voices of women, voices of color, and the voices that lie in the intersection of both.
I have come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, made verbal and shared, even at the risk of having it bruised or misunderstood. That the speaking profits me beyond any other effect. These are the words of Audre Lorde in her essay, The Transformation of Silence into Language and Action. When she was 40, a 3-week wait between breast biopsy surgery and its results prompted her to experience a reorganization of life priorities and to take a deep look at her regrets. Chief among those were her silences. She searched for what had kept her from speaking out about the injustices and separations that are imposed on us, yet we accept them as our own. In the essay, Lorde asserts that many fear that speaking truth will bring some kind of retribution. But after this period of waiting for results, she concludes, and I quote, "We fear the visibility without which we cannot truly live, and that visibility which makes us most vulnerable is that which also is the source of our greatest strength. We can sit in our corners mute forever, and we will still be no less afraid. My silences had not protected me. Your silence will not protect you." When first being introduced to her poetry in an Introduction to Women's Studies course at ETSU, I was struck by the provocative passages she penned, how her words pierced my own longings to be heard. I urge you to read her poetry. It will knock at the door of your heart. I learned more about her prolific writings, both in poetry and prose, and I realized that she had learned to overcome her fears and hesitancy to speak out. So it's not just you and me. She too was afraid. She joins us in that. From her, we learn to embrace our fears and transform our silence into language and action. So my purpose here today is to raise up her voice, to elevate hers and others like her, and pay homage to her, to affirm our own voices and even those that are still unheard, and to embrace the fears that seek to silence us. During our 2020 Centennial Suffrage celebrations and the Women's Studies course, I learned of numerous Black women warriors who have allowed us to witness their fearlessness, to see their willingness to step out of their fear, to speak out, and to act. I will say some of their names: Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Ida Wells Barnett, Frankie Pierce, Fannie Lou Hamer, Claudette Colvin, Rosa Parks, Bell Hooks, Shirley Chisholm, Angela Davis, Barbara Boxer, Barbara Smith, Kimberly Crenshaw, Kamala Harris, Amanda Gorman, and most recently, Stacey Plaskett. The list is exhaustive. I find among them some common themes and a consistent one. In spite of their realistic fears of visibility and them being rendered invisible at times, they have transformed their silence into language and action. Audre Lorde is self-described as Black, lesbian, mother, warrior, poet. Having grown up in Harlem with Caribbean parents, Audre Lorde was legally blind and did not speak until age 4. Her parents have been described as cold, emotionally distant, and deeply suspicious of people with darker skin than theirs. Audre Lorde's was. She learned to speak with the assistance of a librarian who brought poetry into her early life. Poetry became so important to her that she often answered questions by quoting verse rather than communicating in her own words. She attended a high school for gifted students and she later went on to earn graduate degrees in library science. Yay, librarians. While her career included several academic positions, she was a prolific writer, published in several foreign anthologies and Black literary magazines. She was named Poet in Residence at Tougaloo College in Mississippi, and also Poet Laureate of New York. Audre Lorde died of cancer at age 58 in 1992. With all of her achievements, she always struggled with identity, raged at social injustice, and navigated both through her writing. Some of her most important work deals with themes of anger, loneliness, and injustice through the lenses of both the civil rights movement and her own impoverished, restricted childhood. Through her writings, she invites me to the table, even the white woman that I am, even in my differences. She meets us where we are in our own rage, hurt, anger, loneliness, and she helps us navigate the turbulent waters of our own lives. If that 3-week period of waiting for the results and facing the likelihood of death, if that helped bring out her voice, I wondered if other women had realized their voices through similar experiences. What common themes might there be there? And looking at the women of color that I listed earlier, they do seem to have some common themes in their raised voices. They didn't attempt to raise their voices alone. They created community. They directly experienced social injustice and invisibility, and their passion for correcting this injustice and to become visible enabled them to embrace their fear rather than denying it, and to risk the vulnerability it takes to step up rather than stepping away. And lastly, they admit they are different and find power in that difference, in community and coalition with others who are strengthened by that difference. I'm reminded of the Anais Nin poem, Risk. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. I speak now especially to the women listening today. If you have found yourself not speaking out when some small internal voice beckoned you to do so, or when you have felt personally invisible, or you have seen an injustice you feel strongly about, think about what held you back if you were held back. Was it a lack of encouraging community? Was it the comfort of remaining tight in the bud of silence or inaction? Or perhaps a self-imposed feeling of lacking the appropriate qualifications to speak and act? If any of these things ring true for you, I challenge you to learn more about these women and remember them as models of finding ways to share their passions by speaking out and taking action in the midst of their fear, vulnerability, invisibility, disapproval, systemic racism for them, and sometimes certain death. Learn from them that vulnerability and one's willingness to risk it is the path to courage. As Audre Lorde writes, we can learn to work and speak when we are afraid in the same way that we have learned to work and speak when we're tired. For we have been socialized to respect fear more than our own needs for language and definition. And while we wait in silence for that final luxury of fearlessness, the weight of that silence will choke us. For it is not difference which immobilizes us, but silence. An admonition from the activist Maggie Kuhn. Stand before the people you fear and speak your mind, even if your voice shakes. I leave you today with a couple of special treats. One is generously provided by a Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter in our own midst, Amethyst Kia. Amethyst, thank you so much for gracing us with your now famous song, Black Myself. And as our credits run today, we will hear from two other very talented African American women from our own community, twins, Kaya Hudson Smith and her sister Andrea Langford. They will sing Let It Be as they remember Aretha Franklin singing it.
Stop shipping workhorses, they bred their own anyway. I don't pass the test of the paper bag, 'cause I'm black myself. I pick the banjo up and they sneer at me, 'cause I'm black myself. You better lock your doors when I walk by, 'cause I'm black myself. You look me in my eyes, but you don't see me, 'cause I'm black myself. Is he washing the blood of your shadow, 'cause the lambs dried it away. When they stop shipping workhorses, they bred their own anyway. I'm black myself. I go anywhere that I wanna go, 'cause I'm black myself. And I'm surrounded by many loving arms, 'cause I'm black myself. And I'll stand my ground, smile in your face, 'cause I'm black myself. I wash away the blood and tears. I've been born brand new. There's no but still some work to do, 'cause I'm black myself, 'cause I'm black myself, 'cause I'm black myself, black myself, black myself, black myself, black myself, black myself.
Our time together is nearly finished, but not nearly done. We heard a message of speaking out and speaking up for ourselves and those who don't have a voice, even when we are unsure or scared. We are all challenged to do more and are encouraged to find our own voice as we move forward through life together. Let us speak love into action and fear into faith. Faith that oppressed groups will find relief and the justice that they deserve.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world.
My name is Rosemary, and I serve the church as a member of the Religious Services Committee. I'm happy that we could be together today and be inspired by women speaking out, even when our voices are shaky. Thank you for learning along with me, and please come back whenever you like. We will post another pre-recorded virtual church service next Sunday. Please remember that our services are recorded in advance, so sometimes events move forward without us. However, you can find up-to-date information on local events, social justice issues, inspiration, and content for all ages on our Facebook page. As you make your way through the week, remember these words: you are good, you are loved. We all need a little work. Black lives matter, Black voices, and women's voices matter. And yes, we're all in this together.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine on till tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be.